You likely already know that real estate has created countless millionaires. But is that an opportunity available to you? Surely it would take tons of money in the bank and years of costly learning lessons, right? Not when you harness the power of creative real estate investing. Creative real estate can change your life, and that's exactly what it did for the couple I'm about to introduce you to. I've actually shared before some about their success and how to turn 10,000 into 100,000 with creative real estate investing. But today, Jordan and Jenna are going to share firsthand some of the insights and details about their first creative real estate deal that netted them over $145,000 in profits. You're about to discover why that was not an accident or just dumb luck, and they're going to share how they were able to achieve that when they were brand new to creative real estate investing. If you're searching for the right opportunity that will allow you to build your own business, gain control over your time, and achieve financial independence, you need to watch this interview. Hi, I'm Brian Bush with Freedom Mentor, and for nearly 20 years, our team has transformed people from all walks of life into incredibly successful real estate professionals. We provide these real-world stories of our apprentices' experience and real estate success to help you realize the power of real estate to allow you to achieve financial freedom. Throughout this interview, if you have any questions, text FREEDOM to 305-315-8030 or comment below. Now, let's meet Jordan and Jenna.
Click subscribe and add alerts so you can get more real-world real estate wisdom that you'll hear nowhere else but here.
Jordan, Jenna, thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a pleasure working with you guys when you were students, and I really appreciate you taking time to share with us here today because I know it's going to really benefit our audience. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Jenna and I are both super excited to be here with you to spend a few minutes. Nothing but positive aspirations for just the relationship we've had with you and Freedom Mentor. So thank you.
Excellent. Absolutely. Well, take us back. When you all were getting started, what was it that helped you to decide to join Freedom Mentor?
Well, let's see. I remember somehow finding Freedom Mentor just on the internet. I think probably just YouTube at the time. And I remember coming to Jenna with this idea, hey, I'm interested in checking this out. And if I recall, you were somewhat skeptical, but still, I think, supportive at the same time. You're like, all right, well, check it out and let me know what you think. And at the time, I was in commercial insurance, and Jenna was, a stay-at-home mom, but also did a lot of piano work for the high school. And I think you were actually working at a mortgage office.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so yeah, it ended up ended up wanting to become a part of the program. Jenna ended up, I think, pretty quickly ended up becoming very supportive with just, she liked what she saw. She liked, I think, right away, kind of just, I could still maintain my job at the same time, but focusing on real estate at night or on the weekends. And it was just a lot of fun. It was a great fit for us.
I think he nailed it. I was skeptical because there's a lot that you can find online these days, and you don't really know who the people are and what they're about. But really quickly, I could tell not only is it legit, I really liked the ethics and just how you communicated and welcomed. It was a really put together program. So that helped me jump on board and be more supportive. But like he said, we were really busy doing other things, being parents with jobs and going crazy. And it was something that kind of complemented our availability at the get-go, and we could work into it. So that was really, really nice.
Gotcha. What was it about real estate that had you pursuing real estate? Was there something, did you consider other businesses, or was there always a draw towards real estate?
I think at the end of the day, we're very entrepreneurial people. I think the draw to real estate specifically for me at the time was I have an older brother that does real estate at a very high level in like a big office and this capital group and the whole thing. And I'm essentially witnessed his success through the years, and always kind of was asking questions about what they were doing. But it just felt unattainable because they're taking down like these big, huge buildings, and there's this big office and a lot of nice people. But I already had a job, and I had my own thing going, where I had those responsibilities. But then I knew that real estate obviously is, everyone needs it, and we all live in it and need it. So I think it just kind of drew my interest from that level. What do you have anything to add?
Yeah, real estate doesn't go anywhere. There's a lot of businesses that you can start and come and go, and there's trends, but that's a safe place to invest your time and your money as well. So,
Excellent. Absolutely. And so, as you decided to pursue real estate, did you think of just getting started on your own? Did you all attempt to do that at any point?
Well, of course, we've owned several homes, so it's like we knew, the process, and I think I knew at the time, several people that were real estate agents, probably even some mortgage folks, just being, an adult in the marketplace. um, I would say probably, and I never really it really appealed to me to become a real estate agent per se, but I also at the same time always knew that real estate's a very viable industry, very entrepreneur, if I can say that word correctly. And so really, I don't know if I'm answering your questions entirely, but yeah, it was viable when I saw FM. I call it Freedom FM, Freedom Mentor FM. And quickly, Brian, I'll tell you, when we got connected with the system, the program jumped in with, head first, 2 feet, whatever that phrase is, and ended up seeing there was people as a part of the system that were successful, and it was like just follow the process. And then I remember getting connected with you specifically as our coach, and it was just like I just instantly, you were my guy, and we had a lot of great communication. When I needed any help at all, literally anything, I could jump on the phone with you, and we could talk through whatever it was at the time, and it was just like such a good fit for us. And I know Jenna, wasn't always probably a part of a lot of those calls per se, but she was right there in the mix, and she had a level of trust and respect for you and just what we were doing. So it just was a good fit for us.
Absolutely. And,
Yep.
head first, feet first, I think you did a cannonball into the business. And maybe that's where we could go next is I'd
Yeah.
love for you to share how you got started in terms of your first deal, because that really made a splash. And it was very memorable. But what would you like to share on that?
Well, let's see. That's the Baxter transaction, our first one. It had a really crazy story. Probably out of all of the real estate that transactions we've been a part of, this maybe was still the craziest one. This was a guy that had moved essentially homeless people into his house because he just had a big heart for people. It was a 3 or 4 bedroom home at the time, but he had moved in probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 people into the house. Kind of like, here, just come stay with me. We'll run a community house. Well, one of his tenants that he didn't have a lease with, no one had leases, um, ended up filing a restraining order against him as the owner of the house. And he quickly, I think he had his own issues going. And anyways, he got a hold of me, with our company, and I went out to meet with him, and he was kind of mousing around the house, like, "Hey, I'll just show you the outside of the house because we can't go inside." And I was like, "Oh, this is kind of odd." And quickly, I think at the time I was just like, "This is just too much. This is too weird." But I essentially told him that I was, hey, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for me. And he literally chased me to my car and said, hey, if I don't work with you or someone like you, I'm going to lose this house. I'm in foreclosure. I can't even go inside. I need help. And I was quick on my feet, and I was like, well, what do you want for the house? And he was like, this is what I'd like. And I was like, I reduced that number by whatever it was, and he's like, let's do it. And it was just there. It was just crazy how that whole thing played out. And of course, there's a lot more that goes into it. Um, we ended up going through an eviction with all of the people that were there, which all went fine. That was quite funny though. We the day of the eviction with the county sheriff where we live, they had visited that house. I think it was like 67 times as like check basically like going to a property and telling them to chill out or whatever they're doing. But when we actually did the eviction, they were so happy to get those people out of the neighborhood, basically, put them out of business, if you will. There ended up being 2 or 3 people that were taken away in handcuffs because they had warrants out for their arrests. It was crazy. But long story short is Brian, with your help, I'm probably scaring anyone that might be listening, but it was never felt dangerous per se, but it was quite a story. We ended up boarding up all the windows, cleaning up the house, and then putting it on the market, literally in as is condition after it was cleaned up as much as we could do, even with broken windows and all. And it sold within, I think it was like 5 or 7 days, for quite a bit more than we paid for it, just because the market was what it was, and we were able to help out Baxter.
When he came home after meeting Baxter for the first time, my jaw kind of dropped.
Yeah.
Just at the description of what was going on. And I was nervous because that's not your normal everyday situation. And part of me is like, is it safe to work with these people? I mean, there's cops that come to this house. But at the end of the day, what I felt great about, and this was our first deal, but this was very much just kind of hit me. These are real people with real lives that are in situations that they want to better, and we can be a part of that. And so, yes, it's real estate, but I'm passionate about investing our time and resources into helping people. And so it's a win-win all around. I mean, Baxter's off doing a next chapter, and people are, the neighborhood's cleaned up. So.
The neighborhood was cleaned up. Neighbors came by. They were so happy to have this situation handled. And Baxter, I know he was extremely happy at closing. He was going to move to the other side of the state and just get on with his life. And it was just so nice. He was literally crying when he received that check. It was incredible.
And that was our first deal. And so and I'm glad it was, because that really boosted the buy-in of like, we can do this. This is going to be what we do.
And I recall, Brian, you were like, yeah, this is an extraordinary situation, no doubt about it. But you were talking me through all of the nuances. And then of course, we had a really successful exit, or when we sold the property. I think I was shocked. I know we made 6 figures right away. And it was just like, wow, this worked. And I know that was probably a little bit of a unique situation being our first deal. It certainly was, with how messy it was, but even how profitable it was for us. I know we were shocked. I was on cloud 9 for weeks. And then I think, just that was our first deal. And then we've done obviously a lot more since then.
Absolutely. And I recall that deal just because it was so unique. And, every real estate deal has something unique to it that we remember. But you just had a situation that was, seemingly made for TV. And, you had the civil standby with the police showing up, and they knew exactly where the house was. As you mentioned, they'd been there so many times. And your seller was in a very precarious situation and really needed your help. Because he didn't know where to go with it, and you were able to kind of do a crash course and learning a whole lot, the method that you took it down and everything else. But you were, as you shared, Jenna, able to really transform things for his future and help the community overall. You provided, I know, a great opportunity to a new buyer, and you made 6 figures in the process. I probably warned you at the time. I've seen people come in that just hit a home run early on, and they struggle after that because they kind of feel like it'll just be this easy every time at bat. But you guys definitely didn't have an easy one here. You really had to do a tremendous amount of work. You obviously employed your people skills very quickly, built great rapport, and I think that's a lot of what allowed this to happen because you built a trust with him because he was again, a predicament, working with some not so savory folks, and you were able to really just pull everything together. Because I remember the story of what was it, the day that this closed, there was some type of fifth wheel mobile home or motor home
Yeah.
in the driveway, and you weren't sure who was in it and who's going to get it. Could it run? And what was that?
Well, Brian, I mean, there's probably so much we can tell. I already feel like I've maybe shared too much because it gets a little lengthy. But it was so funny because the county sheriff that were there to do the eviction, there was like 6 of them that showed up. They more or less surrounded the property with with their cars or their trooper cars or whatever they call them, police cars. And but there was an RV parked in front of the house, and they walked right past the RV to the house. And when the people were in the RV realized, hey, the police were here, they started the RV up and drove it away, like trying to like race out of there. And they literally got pulled over about 200 or 300 yards down the street by 2 policemen, and they got pulled out. And I think those were the folks that actually were taken to jail for their warrants out for their arrests.
Yep.
Out of the RV.
I mean, you feel like you're living in that movie that you mentioned. You know, you're like, is this happening for real?
It was crazy.
It's not funny, but it was in a sense. It's like, I can't believe this.
Can't make this stuff up.
Peeling out of the driveway.
Yeah, and we share that often, only in real estate, and that's why we always have something memorable about a deal. But this one really stood out. But again, congratulations on that, and you went on to do many, many more deals and graduate, obviously. What was it like overall, just being part of the Freedom Mentor community, part of our group?
Well, I'll speak first, but so now we've been graduated for a few years now. But still to this day, have relationships with some of the other students or apprentices, and still have relationships with some of them, and stay in contact and text and phone calls and check in on deals and whatnot. And Brian's kept keeping loose contact with you and checking occasionally. You're honestly one of our favorite people on the planet, based upon just the relationship we've had and what we've been able to do with our lives, since we've been working with you. So it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you have to say, sweetie?
I would say, I think that's a testament to the program that you have. Here we are graduated, yet we still have relationships. And so it's more than just the house. And we can say that about some of the sellers as well. The transaction is, we've helped them with their home, they've moved on, and yet there's some that we still keep in contact with. So I think that says a lot about the type of business that we run and we do, and we've been mentored to build. And I don't think that's normal. I don't think that's just an any program you can find.
Yep.
I think that's special. So
Absolutely.
mm-hmm.
Are there other benefits to the program that maybe stood out to you that you didn't really expect or that people might not think about?
Well, I'll say this. In fact, I don't think I've ever verbalized this to even you, but it seems like in the last, number of years, there's just so many people that have come out of the woodwork and trying to be like, hustlers in real estate, on YouTube and Instagram and all this. There's so much noise out there with, all of these guys that are, basically trying to become famous because they're, real estate investors. What I like about FM specifically, it's like we kind of fly under the radar, and the whole foundation of the group and the ethos of the group, from the top down, everyone, it's just good people, good ethics, good morals, the teaching, the framework for how we essentially learn this business has been tested, and it's not get rich quick. It's not like fly by night. Like, we'll be able to do deals the way we were taught from day one the rest of our lives. And probably teach our kids at some level, how to be in real estate investors in a smart way. That's how I think I feel most strongly about Freedom Mentor and the relationship that we've developed.
Yeah, it's definitely a team environment, you truly want to help
Mhm.
each other with benefiting from other people's experiences. And nobody's trying to outshine somebody or big
Yeah.
time. It truly is a humble help.
And Brian, as you taught, early on, you developed good relationships with title and escrow folks,
Mm.
with lenders that you end up working with. So we have a lot of relationships that we've developed just in our business, in the periphery, that are basically vendors to us, but we're friends, and it's like we all work together, and it's it's a lot of fun.
Excellent. Absolutely. And you all graduated, I think it took you maybe 10, 11 deals to reach that mark because you had such big success on some of those. What
Mhm.
was that like to reach that goal? Did it feel like it was almost too fast, or did you feel like you'd really developed a lot in that process?
Probably, I'll answer. Probably a little bit of both. We did end up, I think, graduating fairly quickly. And I remember graduating and talking to you, and I was like, "Well, I still want to work with you, Brian." And you're like, "Well, you can, but you've graduated. You're out of the program." And we ended up working together for a little bit longer until I felt like, okay, you know what, we're good. And of course, we've developed a relationship outside of even where we were, which has been awesome. Um, so yeah, the way it felt for me is I eventually ended up leaving commercial insurance. Is what I did. If I didn't mention that previously, Jenna's a stay-at-home mom. We've actually recently had another baby, so Jenna's we're having to able to spend a lot of time
Yeah.
with our new baby girl. Um, we work from home, and I left left my 9 to 5 job. Jenna's home with our baby. It's been awesome, and all because of Freedom Mentor and the level of trust and just the business that we've been able to build.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. And as I recall, when you all graduated, you actually felt like you needed some more. As you mentioned, you wanted to work on some more, and so we actually
Yeah.
continued to work together for a few more deals because you were really trying to make sure you had the breadth of knowledge and skill that you needed to really tackle everything in your market, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Excellent. Absolutely. Now, you guys have obviously, moved forward and I think moved into even commercial real estate. So,
Mhm.
you're continuing to build. Are you still doing residential real estate?
Yeah, we are. So over the last couple of years, we've maybe I'll call it pivoted slightly, to take almost a similar approach to what we learned with Freedom Mentor towards the commercial side of things. So in the last few years, we've taken down 2 properties. I think we're about 50 units or doors on over 2 properties, which has been awesome. Been a learning curve with that. But yes, we still are taking down single family properties. In fact, we have a property that we just closed on last week, and we'll be doing some work on over here in the next month or so. And it's exactly what you taught us from the word go, Brian, with the approach that we're taking. And it's definitely a win-win situation. We're helping this couple that was really very, very close to losing a house to foreclosure. They were able to get a hold of us and ended up getting out there to meet with them. Was able to literally save them from losing their house to the bank by literally the last day. And they are very, very thankful right now that they got in contact with us. In fact, I'd say most investors per se probably wouldn't be positioned to help them the way I think we were based upon the way we handle our business.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. And so you're continuing to help families, you're continuing to find good opportunities, and I'm sure you pass up on a lot of those before you find one that's a fit. Uh,
Yep.
is there real estate advice that maybe you wish you could have given your younger self, or that you want to share with everyone that might be looking to get into real estate?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I would say if you're watching this video as someone similar to what we were, 5 years ago now, um, I would say if you're curious about jumping into real estate and you're watching this video even still to this point, go for it. Freedom Mentor, if you qualify to be a part of their system, they want to bring you in and you have interest, I'd say go for it if there's a fit. Good people, there's a lot of opportunity. This is a very, very large country that we live in, and there is a lot of opportunity out there. Millions and millions of homes and properties that are going to be trading hands over the next few years. And why not you?
I think I would have told our younger selves, or reiterated, I should say, the benefit of having a mentor when you do get into real estate.
Yeah.
Because, like Jordan said earlier, it's a very loud space. There's a lot of people doing it. A lot of markets are inundated with people who think they know what they're doing and probably do know what they're doing. But I'm thankful that we did go with Freedom Mentor and qualified to be a part of their program because they know their stuff, and we really benefited from their guidance.
Yeah, and I'll mention this. It comes to mind is in this space, and a lot like anything that you're going to pursue, you don't know what you don't know, and and it's hard if you're in a dark room looking for the door, trying to figure out what to do correctly. So we were able to speed up the process uh, tenfold with basically from the word go to being successfully doing deals. Our first deal that we went through that was so that long story a few minutes ago, that literally was about a maybe 2.5, 3 month time frame where we were like, oh, when are we going to do our first deal? Well, boom, it happened, and went, well, that went quick. That was, I don't want to say easy, but it was like, hey, we can do this. And then it was like off to the races from there, as you mentioned, Brian.
Absolutely.
Well, and it would have been overwhelming, that particular story. We were in boot camp, and I think if we didn't have a mentor, we would have been overwhelmed with everything that was involved because
Yeah,
it was
you don't even.
extraordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you said boot, not truly boot camp.
Well,
but
no, not, you know what I mean. We learned really fast out of necessity. So
yeah,
Sure.
we did.
Absolutely. And obviously you saw there's lots of places to make mistakes. Where do you start? How do you deal with the personalities, much less these potential legal issues with who's supposed to be in the house, and how do you make things happen with the county and the police department and so forth. So, we're trying to avoid mistakes, but I'm curious from that perspective, after having seen a lot of deals and graduated, do you see that there are big mistakes that some investors tend to make?
I would say presumably yes. Thank goodness, knock on wood here, we haven't stumbled or stubbed our toe too hard. I think though, to answer your question though, I think probably the biggest thing you can do is not take the proper evaluation of the property, the scope of work, or underestimate it significantly, and all of a sudden you're going to be writing a check to sell the property. Um, and we've not come to that, ever come close to that. But I know some people, even just people that I know in the industry, have made some bad decisions, um, and that can be really problematic.
well, and also you can be really eager to, be busy and have something to do, and that can work against you if you aren't picking being choosy enough with
Mhm.
who you're working with and how you're taking something down. So that can bite you as well.
Yep.
That's, yeah.
Absolutely.
Due diligence, as you like to say, Brian. Due diligence.
Yeah.
No, we have to do it absolutely, but you're absolutely right that you can also find yourself moving a lot and not accomplishing a lot. And so being clear on what
Yep.
to work on, where to put your time, what to say no to can be very, very valuable. So that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
What would you say overall that the future looks like? Are you going to spend more time doing residential, commercial, maybe a mix of both?
I would say a mix of both. Yeah. Our goal is to take on one new commercial property up until we have 5 commercial properties. And we've been actively pursuing those commercial side of things for the last 2 years. And we've had a deal per year. And then if on the residential side, absolutely, we'll just keep being selective as you just mentioned on the opportunities. But I don't see why we would want to slow down. We do call it 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 deals in a given year on the single family side, plus a commercial deal. I think that's the perfect business. Work life balance is right where it needs to be. Um, and I think I'm just speaking for myself. That's the vision that I have for our business. Sweetie, what would you have to say?
Yeah, I think the commercial route kind of creates consistency. That's more of a long-term play in our mind, in I guess in layman's terms, almost like a retirement plan, if you will.
Mhm.
And residential is, they come and go quicker and kind of supplemental. But we might hold a few for rentals as
Yeah.
well. That's another good strategy that we might pursue in the right locations. But yeah, I think for now, a mix of both makes sense for us.
Yep.
And residential is really the platform, the base that you use to grow into commercial, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was. Yeah. In fact, we did the very first commercial property that we purchased 2.5 years ago. It was a 1031 exchange that we did from, I think it was maybe our 4th or 5th single family property that we did with you, Brian. We did with FM that we ended up holding as a rental. It was a fantastic property. I had a heartburn basically selling that property because it was such a beautiful situation. It was just where it was located, the story behind it. We had our kids involved with getting in there, kind of cleaning the place up. It just everything about it was really special. But we took what ended up being the profit from that deal and doing a 1031 tax exchange, if that's the full
Yeah,
term there.
1031 exchange to secure.
Yeah, so we basically rolled that profitability into buying a commercial building almost dollar for dollar and not having to pay any capital gains tax, no excise tax on the transaction. And then we ended up owning, what was a 22 unit apartment building from one single family house. It was unbelievable.
Every successful real estate investor has a mentor. Get mentored by me and my team by applying to be my next apprentice. Click the top corner.
Well, you guys have grown tremendously. I mean, coming in, not having done anything outside of purchased your own homes, and you just took off and have now done a 1031 into multifamily. You've got a couple of those. What would you
Yeah.
say? How does it feel for you all now? I mean, just how does the future feel with all this success and learning under your belt?
For me, it feels good, but it very much, being an entrepreneur, there's days where you're like, hey, you feel like you're on top of the mountain. And there's other days where you're like, oh man, we got to figure out how to get through this. Um, but I would say by and large, we always are, glass is always half full always. So we always will be that way as entrepreneurs. But I really do feel like the future is bright. We have incredible lives today. um, I would hate to, I'm going to verbalize this, but yeah, but I don't really ever want to say this, but I almost feel like we have almost like a retirement lifestyle. And I am, my late 40s, Jenna's in her early 40s. Um, and it's like, we don't have bosses. And, my boss is maybe Jenna here.
That's right.
That's right. But I mean, it's just incredible. Like we have freedom, we have flexibility, we have the ability to, but we're still busy. But at the same time, like we don't have to say no to that much. We live very near a ski mountain. I think I've skied like 28 days this year. Most of them midweek.
It feels like you're in the driver's seat of your own life,
Yeah.
and especially with how we've all seen things go down recently. You don't always have that security. And so and entrepreneurial and real estate are really great fit when you figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
And it allows you to live life according to kind of how you want to design it. And the flexibility, like we shared earlier, it allows us to enjoy our family. It gives us time, and it can be really whatever you want it to be, as much or as little. And so we've really enjoyed that. And especially with what we've learned from this program. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Thank you to the whole group. Real estate is a team sport. And I know that we joined the right team early on. And that's why, years later, we're on this call with you, Brian, and have nothing but admiration and respect for the organization and you as our coach. And just thank you very much. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure working with you guys, and I love hearing just the blessing that you guys have, the freedom, the flexibility. I mean, kind of pre-retirement with a little baby running around, but you guys have a very ideal situation to really take it in, because I know you've got some older boys, and that was probably a very different time. So just how much has transformed. That's wonderful. Well, any parting words of wisdom that you'd like to share with everyone?
I mentioned it earlier. If you've made it this far and you're watching this recording, if you're interested, I would say go for it. I really would. And by the way, this is a perfect opportunity. If you have a job, you have a career, and this is something that you can basically supplement with just pockets of time and move the needle quickly forward in your life. Being busy, having a family, having a wife that's involved or not. It's ultimate flexibility, and the Freedom Mentor team is top notch. Great people.
Yeah, lean in.
Absolutely. And you guys have worked together to achieve this, which makes it all the more special to be supportive of one another. And obviously, it's propelled you into commercial and so much more. So thank you so much for everything you've shared and taking the time. And congratulations on all your success. We certainly wish the very best ongoing as you continue to just reach new plateaus and meet your goal of holding more commercial property. That's going to be wonderful. And as you said, generationally teaching this to your children, and hopefully continuing this on for generations.
We haven't pushed them too hard in terms of wanting to get involved, but just I think it was even just 2 days ago, our oldest son said, "Hey, I want to learn more about what you guys are doing, and what do you want to do when you get older? I think I want to get involved in real estate, and I want to do what you and Mom do." And that's the first time he said that succinctly like that.
That's
which was pretty cool.
Absolutely. Jordon, Jenna, thank you again so much for taking time to talk with us today, for everything you've shared with us. Even sharing this story, and I know it seems to get a little monotonous to you, but I think we all enjoy kind of hearing the real inner workings of some of these deals, especially one that makes you six figures. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing where you are now and where you're going with all this with you and your family. We really appreciate all the time that we got to spend with you all, and certainly look forward to connecting more.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Have something to share? We want to hear about it. Comment below and we'll respond, including me personally.
Well, as Jordon and Jenna shared, they really appreciated the relationships and mentoring they received that allowed them to build tremendous success in residential real estate, and then propelled them into commercial holdings as well. They were working 9-to-5 jobs and started out after work and on the weekends, and just followed the training and systems at Freedom Mentor to quickly get their first deal. And as you heard, it was a doozy. But we guided them through it, and in the midst of them solving the seller's dilemma, improving the neighborhood and the local community, they were able to net a profit of over $145,000 on their very first creative real estate deal. And that has forever changed their lives. They now enjoy a lifestyle that many only dream of someday in retirement. And they achieve that with creative real estate, the best small business there is. Make no mistake, success is not an accident. It's the result of hard work. It requires the right opportunity, the right skill set, and the right guidance through all the pitfalls and landmines that can be nearly impossible to avoid. Jordan and Jenna found the mentoring and guidance they needed to change their lives at Freedom Mentor. If you want the opportunity to work your way out of the rat race and into financial independence, apply to our apprentice program, where our team will mentor, guide, and coach you to financial success. There's a link in the description and in the top right corner. Again, if you have any questions for us, text FREEDOM to 305-315-8030 or comment below. And if you haven't read it, get your free copy of the best-selling book, How to Be a Real Estate Investor. I'm Brian Bush with FreedomMentor.com. If you gain more real estate wisdom through this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Thanks for watching.